Yeah, man. And yeah, that's the last time that I go to a drag show at the Inner Belt, dude. For real. Oh shit, we're live. Hey, what's up, guys? Uh, welcome, welcome to Rubber City Throwdown, produced by Cage Thunder MMA. You can go to the website cagethundermma.com. Welcome to the Results Show. I am Norm Carrero. I'm your host. My co-host Alex Henry.
Norm, what's going on? Were we live in the beginning or like or,
I think so.
oh man.
Man, look at this. So let me switch this for a second. Ready? Bam. There
Boom.
we go.
Look at that overlay.
Now
Nice.
it's the proper overlay.
Nice and
Now we
professional.
got the proper.
Yeah,
Now we
maybe
got the
people
proper.
thought we were about to fight.
Yeah, I think so. This is not a live stream. Well, it is a live stream, but it is not the pay per view. Ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to Rubber City Throwdown podcast produced by Cage Thunder MMA. Here for the Cage Thunder 22 results. I am Norman Carrero. I'm your host. Joined with me next to me is the color commentator for Cage Thunder, Alex Henry, as my co-host. Again, say hello.
What's going on, Cage Thunder fans? And maybe you're not a Cage Thunder fan either, but you're here for the recap, so I'm ready.
And we are doing this on Facebook Live. Hopefully, our audio is coming in clean. We're here to interact with the fans. Anybody who's watching, by all means, uh, type some comments out to us. We should be able to see them in our comment section. If you have any questions, any gripes, complaints, if you want to troll us, go for it. Um, that's what we're here for. We're going to try to keep it somewhat quick, somewhat sweet, and let's get right into it. So, Akron, Ohio, Chaparral's Event Center, Caged Thunder 22. It's very quiet. Jeremy Riley said, "Go ahead and hit the." There we go. We're gonna get it up a little bit higher. Let us know, Jeremy, if we're still if we're too quiet, too loud. But we're gonna get into the Akron, Ohio, Chaparral's Event Center for Cage Thunder 22 results. Um, about 800 or so in-person people, about 113 live viewers on the pay-per-view. So not bad, not bad. Just another day. Um, we had a banger of a show. I think we had 14 fights, which MMA math is quite good.
Yeah.
And I think how many fights Alex actually fell through at weigh-ins?
Only only I don't think any actually fell away at weigh-ins. I don't think so. I think there was a chance that one of the fighters I'll keep their name disclosed would not have showed up, but I think they did end up showing up. So we were all good there.
Starting our night, we actually had a heavyweight bout with Anthony Zombak representing Route 250 Martial Arts, and he defeated Donald Smith by was it an arm triangle?
Arm triangle, yeah. I thought it
And
was
that
a
was
head and arm at the time of where the angle was on commentary, but no, it was an arm triangle, and yeah, not a lot to say on this fight. Both guys came out big, had some big shots early. But after that, Anthony was pretty much once he was able to get it to the ground, he was good, and he looked good in his first win too.
yeah. Judging from Donald's social media and his feed, um, even the gym that he was actually choosing to train for this fight at, he definitely primarily a striker, a boxer. So that was the number one question when we were thinking about Donald as a fighter. It was how is his ground game going to be? And then seeing that Anthony Zombak training at Route 250 Martial Arts under Andrew Law, was it Andrew Law, Ben Smith, all those guys up there that are primarily known for their judo and great wrestling skills. We knew that eventually it was going to go to the ground, and that I think was when we figured out that Donald was going to be in trouble, and he just didn't really have much of an answer. I don't think.
No, no.
Second fight, getting into it, we've got Austin Meager defeating Jaron Predmore. Austin Meager coming out of Ground Zero and Maslin Martial Arts, and Jaron Predmore in Primal MMA. Jaron loses by TKO from strikes 2 minutes and 10 seconds in round number one. What do you recall about this fight, Alex?
Yeah, a lot of ground game from what I can remember. And I was excited to see both of these guys fight. They both gave like nice interviews, and they both seemed like nice guys. And they both looked in good shape, ready to fight. Ultimately, Austin got on top and was able to put him away. It was actually, with these, 0-0 guys making their debuts and stuff, you often don't know what you're going to expect. And both of the fights in the beginning, the Anthony Zombek fight and the Austin Meager fight, they were both pretty entertaining. So big ups to both of those guys.
Yeah, the show started off, pretty good. It wasn't, two fights that just ended in 10 seconds by knockout. They both ended in the first round, but it almost made it to the second in both of those fights, with the first fight being 2 minutes and 17 seconds of round number one, and the second fight 2 minutes and 10 seconds of round number one. So now this fight moving into the third one, Garrett Hirschberger defeating AJ McCants by unanimous decision. Now this fight, I know it surprised you. It also surprised me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah, this fight really surprised me, and nothing I'm gonna say here is not something that you cannot already find on the Cage Thunder Facebook page right now. When I interviewed AJ McCants that morning, I had asked him, how has training been for this fight? He said, well, I really haven't been training. Like, I really don't do a lot of training. It doesn't work for me. So anytime you hear that, you instantly think this is going to be an awful showing for this guy. Absolutely not. He won the first round. He beat Garrett Hirschberger in the first round of that fight, in my opinion anyway. And he ultimately did end up losing those next two rounds. He looked really tired, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because Garrett Hirschberger is one of the best prospects that's been fighting at Cage Thunder. And for AJ to be able to give him as big a problem as he did, and like his only big issue just being his cardio, really goes to show how much potential he has. I remember talking to Garrett later in the night. I don't know if anybody from his team or he's here in the live stream, but I remember him like, man, I didn't know AJ McCants was a wrestler, like this big high school wrestler. And that's something I didn't even, or I might have mentioned maybe one time on the pay-per-view broadcast. That
No, you did. Actually, you brought it to my attention. I didn't even know that AJ McCants was a Coventry State wrestler.
Yeah.
And yeah, you did on the broadcast. You had mentioned actually within the first takedown that McCants had landed. He goes, he is a Coventry State wrestler. I don't think anyone knew. Nobody knew that except you. You're the only one who seemed to have known that
doing my job.
Yeah, that he was an actual wrestler, which I think surprised Garrett. Definitely in round one, but Andrew Law and company made the proper adjustments, and they were able to come out on top in the next two rounds, getting the unanimous decision victory to Garrett Hirschberger, now improving to 4-0 with Route 250 martial arts. I do want to see McCants again.
Yes.
I hope that. I understand that this is probably just a hobby to him. It may not be something that he's passionate about doing. It seems like his work comes first, and he prioritizes his work and his time over training. But man, if he just sacrificed a little bit of time to training, I think that McCants can definitely do something in the rankings. In this weight class. But congratulations to Garrett Hirschberger. Now moving up to 4-0. This is the time that Garrett is going to. He needs a big increase in competition now. At this point he's in the stage of his career where there is no saying no to fights.
Yes.
This is the fight that we got for you. He's a top 10 fighter, potentially for a title. I don't know. But potentially for a title, you just can't say no to these fights anymore, because you can only protect a fighter for so long before you got to throw him into the sharks and go, here you go, man. Show us what you got. Let's do this. And this is what I'm looking forward out of Garrett Hirschberger and out of Route 250 martial arts moving into the future shows, especially with Cage Thunder. Moving on, we've got Tyler Fry from was it Martinez BJJ defeating Jeremiah Action Jackson out of Victory MMA by armbar submission, 42 seconds of round number 1. That was a nasty armbar. I don't
Yeah.
know if his arm actually did dislocate or if he's just double jointed. I saw him holding his kid after the fight, so he didn't seem like he was in too much pain. I do remember saying to myself, man, his arm is going to be sore in the morning. I honestly don't know, though. What do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I'm not sure about like the health of his arm, but yeah, I felt pretty bad. This is his third loss in a row, second by first round ground. Like whether I think his last fight before this was rear naked, now an arm bar, and they were both fast fights. And what's upsetting about a fast fight is, and as a fighter, is you train all this time, and I know he's somebody who is in the gym a lot, training hard, just to get finished early is disappointing. So it was disappointing to see that, but big ups to Tyler Fry, man. Tyler Fry looked really good in that fight. I know that he was 1-2 before this fight. He's on a 2-fight win streak now, and yeah, he looked really good. So I'm excited to see more out of him. But as for Jeremiah, I'd stick with it. 3-5 is a decent record, and we see guys that are 6-5, 5-6 at the amateur level still getting wins and still getting better. And I think with his height at bantamweight, he has a lot of potential. So hopefully he sticks with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 150%. I think that he is gonna stick with it. A lot of these Jackson brothers, man, all they know is getting in there and fighting and competing, and that's what I love about seeing all these guys fight. And he's with a pretty prestigious gym as well with Victory MMA, so I don't think they're gonna let him not fight anymore. I think it's in Jeremiah's best interest to continue to keep fighting, and this is just amateur. This shit doesn't even matter, man. This is just building experience and getting better, and your record is irrelevant until you make that professional leap. But again, congratulations to Tyler Fry, moving up to 2-2. Moving on to our next fight, a middleweight showdown with Walker Snowden out of RTSC Training Center, defeating Jeremiah Slagle, an independent fighter, by TKO from a triangle choke at 2 minutes and 22 seconds of the very first round. I'm not used to seeing TKO from a triangle choke.
Yeah, that fight was wild. I really had I had a lot of hope for Slagle. I really thought he was this really big game opponent before during research, getting to talk to him. And then I even found out that the military was there for him, filming him because he goes out soon. And Walker Snowden, I knew he was good as well. So I was really excited for this fight. But Walker just looked way better in that fight. And I guess from what I hear now is that Walker had broke his leg pretty early. He had that he broke his leg early in that fight, and then not only that, then got choked out. So and then they had to bring in the oxygen and everything. So it was really upsetting. You got to wonder. He did have a lot of time off. So just for me, I looked at him on paper and I'd watch his fights and he was really good, but it was a while ago. So he had had a lot of time off. So this was his first time back into the cage in a while, and Walker was just ready, and he had a great game plan. So big shout out to Walker Snowden, and hopefully Jeremiah Slagle is doing a lot better now, but that was a really good fight, Norm.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Walker Snowden improving to 3-0. Jeremiah going down to 3-2. I mean, if you said the Army was there, they were recording his fight, and promotional purposes, you said that he's getting ready to ship out, or he's going to basic training, or what?
Yeah, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure he's about to go out somewhere. So in the next couple, well, who knows now? I'm not even sure what it was to begin with, but now if he has a broken leg or ankle, maybe that postpones what was supposed to happen there.
Yeah, it'll definitely postpone. I was looking back at the fight because I seen him limping, and they had to kind of had two guys help him get out of the cage. I want to say it was the first kick that he threw that caught the shin.
Yeah,
but I'd have to go back and watch the video to make sure that it was the correct leg. But
right.
I could have swore, he landed shin on shin, so or ankle on shin. He definitely caught the shin, and I know Devonte Smith, your co-commentator, even pointed that out during the live broadcast as well. But if he is good to go and he is in fact going to basic training, he will have an opportunity to learn some more Army combatives training. That's what I did when I was in basic training. I actually had fought a couple months before I shipped out, and I went in and I actually won the combatives tournament when I was in basic training, and actually was able to get level 1 certified combatives instructor. So it's pretty fun. So even Jeremiah will continue to be able to use his mixed martial arts experience even in the military, and I wish him the best of luck.
Absolutely.
Um, Moving on to Malcolm Hitman Jackson, improving to 4-4, defeating David Leisure, falling to 2-1 out of Sprawl and Brawl in MMA by unanimous decision. Pretty clear cut. I think Malcolm 100% won the fight. He won all the rounds. Well, I think that he won all the rounds. Um, but obviously, according to some of the judges, two of the judges, a matter of fact, that he actually lost one of the rounds. I'd have to go back and rewatch to see what round he might have lost. But Malcolm looked good, man. He looked pissed. That was the big thing. He looked angry. He looked like he was trying to prove a point, and maybe that's what he was trying to do, taking a fight on short notice. I did say in the podcast leading up to this event that David Leisure was going to get a step up an opponent. He had a step up an opponent again when he was supposed to be fighting David Music. And then even when he backed out, I even told I had a conversation with David Leisure and his coaches at Wayne's, and I said, hey, man, I know you got a short notice opponent in Malcolm Jackson, but he is game. This is not an easy opponent. His is still a step up in competition, and David Leisure found that out tonight, and he actually did a lot better than I thought he was going to do in this fight.
Yeah, I wasn't even surprised. I figured he was going to do really good, and his wrestling really didn't even surprise me. After his last fight with Lucas, you figure he really probably wanted to step his wrestling up, and he definitely showed that in his wrestling. That the closest round was definitely that first round, which was the one that could have went either way. I know how I scored it, but yeah, Malcolm clearly won that fight. And to think that he took it on such a short notice is really incredible because, like on a full gas tank, from like even a 2 week kind of cardio, like getting in shape, getting down weight faster. I mean, he probably would have looked even better than he did against David Leisure. And David Leisure, for him, I think he's still got a lot to work on. In his first two fights, he looked really good. Um, but for the step up in competition, I think he'll probably need to work on that ground game a little bit more. But yeah, this fight was pretty good. It was pretty good. Big shout
Yeah,
out to Malcolm.
I'd like to see David work on his stand up a little bit more. I know he won his first fight by guillotine choke, I believe, right? Um,
Yeah,
because
guillotine at BCM.
I was cornering him for that fight, and you can tell that he was going for that guillotine choke a lot against Malcolm, and it looked like a couple times he might have been able to have it. And there was a point in time where he had like a reverse triangle or like an inverted, not a reverse, but like an inverted triangle on Malcolm, and all he needed to do was reach around and grab his foot and just sink it in, and you can even see it in the video. Malcolm's arm was across his neck. I mean, he
Yeah,
could have,
that crazy
yeah,
like that little scramble there.
yeah, and like if he would have reached around to his left, grab his foot, clamp down on the triangle, and then kind of shrimp to the right, grab the arm and pull and just squeeze, he might have been able to get that inverted triangle, um, or at least if he had a transition into an armbar, that would have been a little bit more difficult to do and a little bit more experience individual in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu might have been able to pull that off. But it did look like in the video when we were watching it back that he might have been able to have that. I don't know how tight that felt on Malcolm's end. Maybe that's something I'll ask him next time I see him. But I look forward to seeing both of these guys back, and I think that David Leisure has a pretty good career ahead of him as long as he keeps doing and training the way that he is. So
Yeah, and he's got a good gym around him too, which is important. I know those guys are really tight and they hold each other accountable. So
moving on, we've got Brandon the Naked Panda Seaman 1 and
mhm.
0 out of SAS defeating Elijah Jackson 1 and 1 from Victory MMA by unanimous decision. All three judges all gave him all 3 rounds. 30-27 is pretty clear who won that fight. How do you feel and what did you see with Seaman going into this fight?
No, it was a very, very, very clear win for Brandon Seaman. He looked really good. I'm pretty sure this was his debut fight, and he looked stronger to me. And uh, he looked a lot stronger, and because of that, I think he was just able to control the fight more. Sometimes when you're stronger, you can just control no matter where it is. If it's on the feet, if it's on the ground, you're just able to control better. And he was able to pace himself really well throughout this fight. This was, well, obviously for Brandon, it was the first time that he had went past all 3 rounds. But for Elijah as well, his first fight was an early finish. So for him, this was the first time that he had seen 3 rounds in an MMA fight. So now he's gonna know what that feels like, and now he'll be able to train for that better. But yeah, Brandon looked really good for his debut. So
Awesome. Yeah. Getting back to, just going to fall back real quick. Malcolm just messaged me on Facebook. He said it wasn't tight to answer your question. I appreciate you getting to me, Malcolm.
even Malcolm, I remember he had like in that submission, he had some like what I'm not sure what the actual term for the move is, but in WWE, The Undertaker would do it, and it was called the Hell's Gates, and he
Yeah.
literally had like that in for like a split second, and I thought he was gonna finish him there. So it was like a really high level jiu-jitsu, a little scramble there for both guys.
Right. Moving on. This fight. This was our fight of the night. We had Matt Beal
No doubt.
improving to 1-1 from Route 250 Martial Arts, defeating Undead Jeremy Riley, falling to 1-3 out of Apex Fight Systems by split decision. I'm conflicted with this fight. First off, both guys showed up. It was a banger of a fight of the night. It is, and I said it. I said it in the last podcast. There's a reason why they call him undead. He's like a
Hmm.
fucking zombie. He just keeps going forward. He keeps moving forward, and that's all he did. The entire fight, he kept moving forward. Now, sometimes moving forward with his hands up like that, it just gives his opponent time to kind of set up combinations and punches that are going to land. But unless one of those punches knocks him out, man, it is definitely it's hard to if you're a Matt Beal, it's putting that kind of pressure. There was another fight that we'll talk about too about pressure, but when you put that kind of pressure on a fighter, it really taxes their cardio, and that's what we saw. Both fighters completely gassing out pretty quickly going into the second round. Now, where I stand conflicted about this fight is the last judge giving
Mm-mm-mm.
Matt Beal all 3 rounds. That is what I disagree with. Now, if that judge gave 29-28 to Matt Beal, then there's no controversy because that's how close of a fight it was. But to give all 3 rounds to Matt Beal, I that's what I don't agree on. And again, it's got nothing to do with the fighter. It has nothing to do with the gym. It has nothing to do with the training. It's literally the judges. I am so confused on how that judge, just that third judge, scored that fight 30-27. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Jeremy should have won a fight. Like I said, split decision. Um, you put that into a split decision and you change that score from 30-27 to 29-28, and I don't think it's as controversial.
Yeah, well, the debatable, rounds are rounds 1 and 3. those are the rounds that is for me anyway, where you get into your split decision talk. Round two was clearly a Jeremy Riley round for me. Arguably in my scorebook, which by the way has blood all over it from this fight, um, and uh, and I got blood on my shorts. So Jeremy, you owe me a new pair of shorts if you're listening. But or Matt, I'm not really sure whose blood it was, but either way, that second round is the round that arguably could have been a 10-8 for Jeremy even. I to try to defend the judge, and I'm just playing devil's advocate really, is Matt really put out a lot of output in like the last 50 seconds of that second round, but ultimately, I mean, you score the whole round. So the whole round, Jeremy had proven to be way more dominant to me. So I definitely that 27-30. I remember actually being frustrated on the broadcast. And what's frustrating is because both guys fought so hard, that you don't want to have any of that controversy around your fight. When really you just want, both guys respect each other so much. The whole crowd respects them. You just want it to be, man, what a fight of the year, fight of the night, and go on. And now there's always going to be, this asterisk next to that 27-30 round when people look at this fight, at least when I look at this fight. For Matt Beal, man, he looked in incredible shape going into this fight, Norm. I know I had watched his last fight, and he was still very big, like Devontae kept saying, like a WWF wrestler. But it looked like he could have lost some fat. He lost it all for this fight. He didn't even have any of that fat really. And he looked so big, but it's really just been the same thing with him was the cardio. But ultimately, both guys were able to stick it out. Even Jeremy had struggled with cardio. Both guys going into the third round, a lot of dropping of the hands, a lot of just walking for like a few seconds. But dude, they put on a show. They put on a battle. They said, "Hey, Cage Thunder, I know you guys got a new cage, but we're gonna ruin it right off the bat and get it nice and dirty."
Right.
So big shout out to Matt Beal. I'm really excited to see how his career goes because he can literally only get better from this fight. And for Jeremy, I mean, it's nothing. I know I messaged him that night talking to him, but nothing to put your head down about either. And he's very tough. So that was an incredible fight, Norm.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Jeremy utilize his wrestling a little bit more. You saw it early in the first round when he was able to take him down. It actually seemed like there was a moment where he was going to be able to control Matt on the ground relatively easy, but Matt's so strong and he was fresh too and he got right up. But as the rounds as we got later into the rounds, it may have just been Jeremy's gas tank, but I would have really, really loved to see Jeremy utilize his wrestling more, and I think that would have solidified him the victory if he would have been capable of doing it. Now, I know there was a couple attempts that he had made, but Matt was ready for it. He had a good sprawl. He is a little bit lower to the ground. He was the shorter fighter of the two, and like I said, I've trained with Jeremy, and I know how good Jeremy's wrestling is, and I know how good it can be. So I really wish he would have utilized it more than how he showed it in the fight. But again, that could have been just gas tank. Both guys, I think Jeremy needs another fight. There's no way this guy's done fighting. We need to see more of Jeremy. He's an exciting fighter. I mean, he had a banger of a fight with Foster Eberle too, man, and everyone loved that fight as well. This is the kind of fighter that you want in your promotion. This is the kind of guy that you want to fight to push you to get better. And if Matt Beal, again, if he learned anything about this fight, it's like, hey, man, take care of your cardio. Get your cardio up and learn how to pace a fight. And I expect great things out of Matt Beal as well. Moving on, we've got Brandon Bellator.
Mm-hmm.
improving to 5-2 out of Victory MMA, defeating Denzel Wallace 3-3 out of Sprawlin' and Brawlin' MMA by Anaconda choke submission in 2 minutes and 56 seconds of round number one. Alex, I cannot believe Brandon was able to sink in an anaconda. First off, you don't see the anaconda choke in an amateur fight, and this is one of those chokes that a lot of guys are not used to getting put in because of the inexperience of the people they either train with or just the inexperience that they have in themselves. You don't see it a lot on the amateur level, and this just showcases how good Brandon Bellator's ground game and his jiu-jitsu really is. It is fairly simple. It's not like an advanced move, I guess, but it is a fairly simple move to lock in. It's either a Darce or you're going to get the anaconda choke, but hitting a gator roll right into the anaconda, and the fact that he made him tap 4 seconds left in the round, oh, that was exciting.
Dude, Brandon Bellator reminded people why he was fighting for belts. He reminded people that he was that guy. Like, even myself and, me and Brandon are good friends, I'd like to say. But, dude, he came out, and it was electric for him. I mean, he took the fight on a week's worth notice, and he dominated. It was really incredible. And that ground game, it's like it's only gotten better for him too. So I was really happy to see him get on the right track. I know he had said the pressure's off this fight. He said there's no pressure this time around because there's no belt at stake. There's no pressure for me, and I think that was so important for him in this fight because he fought like there was no pressure on him. He fought like he was just like, I'm gonna just do what I think's right. I'm not really worried about anything right now. And the way he fought was just so nice. And mind you, versus Denzel Wallace, Denzel was really a good game opponent. Denzel was, I don't know what his record was.
He was 3-2.
3-2. I mean, and Denzel also was a decent wrestler from what he had shown in some of his fights as well. But Brandon really showed that he still has it. And, I mean, honestly, Brandon, I'm not sure what his plan is for his career. And I know the Victory guys do a great job at talking things over as a team before, making a decision for what to do. But I still think he's a guy who could fight for a belt. So, yeah, that was a really good fight. And that Anaconda was nice.
Yeah, and yeah, Terry and Drew over at Victory, like, yeah, they wouldn't have taken this fight if they didn't think that they can win it. And now that Brandon is back in the win column, he is title eligible. So there's a very good chance that once Branson relinquishes his belt to go pro, which he fully intends on doing, that we could possibly see Brandon Bellator competing, be one of the next competing fighters for the Bantamweight Championship as well. Yeah, but not taking anything away from Denzel, too. He actually looked pretty good up until the point that he got caught. I remember thinking to myself, wow, like, Brandon doesn't really have much of an answer for what how he's moving and what he's doing, being the taller and the longer fighter. And I was like, man, this could very well go to a decision. And then, bam, Anaconda choke. So just like just like that, a game of inches and a game of seconds in MMA. So moving on to Jared Patterson out of Route 250 Martial Arts, improving his record to 6-6, defeating Matt Dugan from Sprawlin' and Brawlin', falling to 2-3 by triangle choke submission in 1 minute and 15 seconds of round number one. I try to tell people, man, I've been following Jared Patterson's career since 2016, 2017. I've seen multiple gyms that he has trained out of. I've watched several of his fights. I try to warn people about this guy on the last podcast, man. Like, this is not an easy fight for Matt Dugan. I knew it wasn't going to be an easy fight for Matt Dugan. Jared is a very underrated fighter, and I believe I said, don't let his record fool you. It's not what you think it is. He is an experienced fighter, and he's not bad, and he's with a good gym right now.
Yeah, and I think the gym was everything for him, and he had even kind of mentioned that to me, saying, once I switched over to the new gym, I've just felt so much better, and I've learned so much more. And what was what was really impressive to me too is how aggressive he was in this fight. Because even fights that I had watched of him, he there were sparks and glimpses of it, but the whole fight he was just super aggressive, the way more offensive fighter, and I felt I I don't know, I felt bad for Matt Dugan because Matthew Dugan's a really good fighter, and I don't want to take anything away from Jared Patterson because he looked so incredible. But I almost wonder where Matt Dugan was this fight because that was not the Matt Dugan that I've seen in his last couple fights. I mean, he's looked so good recently, and it could have just been as simple as I got caught. I got caught and I lost. And that if that's what it is, then that's what it is. I venture to say it might have been a little more than that, but I'm not sure. Either way, Matt Dugan's still going to have a great career ahead of him. And, losing to a game opponent like Jared Patterson really doesn't hurt you that much in terms of, your stock. But Jared Patterson looked really good. It was a really exciting fight, and I'm glad that he was able to get it done.
Yeah, 150%. I agree. Moving on, we got the Dylan Miller improving to 3-0 out of Victory MMA, defeating Cordell, the Black Knight Cheney, uh, moving to 2-2 out of DFT by guillotine choke submission in 38 seconds of round one, number one. Honestly, this could have been a knockout. It ended ending by submission, but Dylan Miller put him down really quick. And honestly, if he would have just kept punching him, the fight would have been over in a matter of seconds anyway. I think he just wasted time jumping the guillotine, but it's just reaction, and that's all it was. Um, but like, I again, like when we talked about it on the podcast, as I've trained with Dylan Miller, I've sparred with him several times. I told everybody that he fucking hits hard. He switches stances. It's hard to gauge where he's gonna punch you from, and he is always putting pressure. This is the fight that I was talking about pressure that we're going to get into later. It's pressure, pressure, pressure. He puts an uncomfortable amount of pressure on you, and if you don't have, I mean, luckily,
No doubt.
luckily for, I mean, Cordell, this fight ended in 38 seconds because if it went longer, his cardio would have gotten taxed 100%, man. It would have been really frustrating. Like I like to think that I'm in pretty good shape, and Dylan has me gasping for air after I spar with him. I just knew. I mean, you can see it in his past fights too that he's had where he just is constant pressure, and I know that I'm dick riding Dylan right now,
A little bit of
but
glazing going on
yeah,
there.
just a little bit, but mostly just because like I feel like I feel like it's an "I told you so" moment. Like it's one of those fights where like I've read comments on social media leading up to this fight where people are like, Dylan's gonna get fucking murdered. He's gonna lose. He's blah, and it's like, dude, you guys have no idea who this guy is, man. And sometimes I just see comments like that, and I see people talking about like how bad this person's gonna lose, and I go, man, if only you knew, if you knew something about MMA, if you knew something about the fighter, you would know how hard of a fight this actually is going to be. So I give big props to Dylan. Um, Now I want to see what's next. He fights in the same division as his training partner and top ranked light heavyweight Nick Nash. So obviously they aren't gonna fight each other for the Cage Thunder title. So I'm kind of curious as to where Dylan goes to fight now, and who they have planned next. Like who's next on the docket for Dylan.
Yeah, well, number one, I mean, I 100% agree with you, Norm. It could have been a knockout. And I actually think I had the best view in the entire room. Me, Devontae, and Matt had the best view to really tell if it was a knockout because, I mean, it was right there, and it looked like he dropped him. It really looked like he was out. But no, he was really able to get it done. It was an impressive fight. Maybe Dylan Miller, just throwing out some ideas for you, Norm, goes on and fights a Kyle Crum, maybe a Dom Johns if he's still fighting, James Ritchie, um, Those are a couple guys that I could see him fighting. Probably Kyle. I know that might be a better fight for the promotion just because of the name and the crowd that Kyle brings out. And then coming off of the title loss to Nick, maybe that's what makes sense for Dylan to take next. But yeah, big shout out to Dylan because he just looked good. I mean, he looked really good.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if Kyle. I'm not entirely sure if Kyle would take the fight. It would definitely be an entertaining fight, and I think that based on the opponents that Dylan has had, it would definitely be a step up. You know,
Maybe a Walker Snowden. They're both. I think they're both 3-0 now. Both guys are 3-0. Scott, I don't know if you're
but
listening.
but Walker is a middleweight, so someone's gonna either have to do a weight jump or a heavyweight cut. I'm not sure if Walker has competed at light heavyweight, and then he kind of he wanted to get down
Sure.
to middleweight, and that was kind of like um now he cut down, he got down to middleweight. He has no interest on moving up to
Up.
light heavyweight if it doesn't
Sure.
make sense. But no, Kyle would be an entertaining fight
Yeah.
if he would take it. I don't know how consistent he is in training right now. Um, I know Victory would take the fight. I know Dylan would take the fight. Kyle also probably knows how Dylan trains and how he fights, and he also knows that's going to be a tough opponent. And Kyle might actually be looking for like maybe a pick me up fight to kind of get back in the winning column. I would say, um, but I mean, why not like Trey was is it Trayvon Ellis? Why not Trey Cusack? Why not start pulling some of these top five, top 10 fighters in the light heavyweight division, man, and you know
Yeah, I
start
wouldn't
putting
mind
them
that.
in there. So we'll see if any of those guys are willing. I know Ohio Combat League has a database of light heavyweights that are looking pretty good too. So, why not make a couple phone calls and see what's up and see what we can offer Dylan in the future in the light heavyweight division. Let's move on to uh, R.J. Harris. Man, this guy is gonna be a problem at heavyweight if he ends up cutting that weight. Man, 289. He was 302, I believe, in his last fight when he made his debut with Cage Thunder with the 9-second knockout. And now he's 289 in his second fight, beating James Dennis, which is a tough opponent to beat anyway, and he beat him in pretty convincing fashion. Um, he's like 6'6". He's strong. If he cuts down to 265 as a true, you know, oh, he was 308 last fight. Sorry, but again, he weighed in. He was announced officially this fight at 289, so he is obviously losing weight, man. And
Yeah.
this guy's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the heavyweight division. And right now, man, let's be honest, the heavyweight division in Northeast Ohio is not as competitive as it was 10, 15 years ago. So, like, I have a feeling that RJ Harris is going to have problems getting opponents at a heavyweight level. I'm going to be honest. I mean, he might get a couple, but there might be a few that don't want nothing to do with them. Um, like I said, James Dennis, I think he wanted to showcase his striking, and I remember saying that his game plan. I think that he should have just went for the cage pressure, shoot. I mean, not shoot, but cage control, cage pressure, show a little aggression. Um, Dylan Book, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Um, I know. I think James, yeah, he should have showed a little bit more pressure. I think he should have had that solid game plan. And I know Victory, they were really confident in James's striking. I had trained with James. I was hell, I was even in the promo video that you, Alex, had cut, holding mitts for him. Actually, we are training
Sure.
together, and yeah, James hits hard. He's got decent head movement. He's but he is learning how to strike, and you get guys like R.J. Harris, who is just you look at him, and I know Victory probably looked at RJ and was like, he's a tough man, he's wild, he doesn't have that great of striking. But when you get a guy that's just throwing punches like that, all it takes is that one punch, and I think that's what happened. I think he got caught with a good right, and it put him down. And then from then on, James was just in recovery mode.
Sure.
And he went for the single in recovery mode, and that's not necessarily what you want to do. You don't want to now go for the single leg takedown, and while you're trying to recover, you wanted to do it while you were fresh. You wanted to get him down. You wanted him to burn. Uh, you wanted RJ to burn his cardio. That you want to take him down, use your weight. You were obviously the heavier guy at 325 pounds officially for this fight. And but I also don't know. I'd have to talk to James as well and see how his headspace was and how he was feeling. Maybe he had any injuries. But I do remember him saying in training that he wanted to showcase his striking, and he was really happy that he now got to face a striker. Because I think all three of his fights prior to this one, he had all won by a decision, right? Or sorry, submission, correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah. So, I shout out to Sprawlin' and Brawlin' MMA because whatever they got in the water over there, whenever they're feeding RJ Harris, man, it's working. And also shout out to Sprawlin' and Brawlin' for hooking me up with some free merch, by the way. If you guys ever want to send your boy Alex Henry your fight gear from your gyms, I'll proudly wear it. I'll proudly represent any of these gyms. I know Apex gave me a little bit of merch too, so just saying, I'm here for the merch. But besides that, RJ, he looked so good on the feet, and honestly, James was taking some of those punches, and when I was watching it live and commentating it, it seemed like he was taking it good until the bigger shots. Well, then after the fight, when I was able to then look at James's face, I was able to look at
Yeah.
his face. I said, "Oh man, I don't know if he was actually taking those shots as well as I thought he was because he's busted open." RJ's gonna have a problem finding fights at heavyweight norm. I think that's really the biggest thing to take away. I think James will be fine. Maybe an exciting fight that I'd like to see. Somebody who's been super good at cage thunder, super good in the heavyweight division is Leland Jernigan. He's got that 5-8 second knockout in his debut, then got a beautiful arm bar as a heavyweight, like a nice arm bar as a heavyweight. I think he's 2-0 now. So, that might be a fight that James wants to take. And honestly, I think for Leland, that would be a good fight for him because he needs to step up as well. So James coming off this loss, that might be a fight to make. But besides that, there isn't a lot of good fights. But, and then the other big thing that you mentioned is RJ Harris at heavyweight, if he can do it, will be a problem. I mean, it'll be a real problem.
Yeah, I'd like to see, like I said, I'd like to see James Dennis continue his weight loss journey and to potentially get out of that super heavyweight division and get down to
Both guys.
heavyweight as well, because I think James
Yeah.
would also be a force at heavyweight as well. Sprawn and Braun, I know you guys are in the chat. I know you guys are watching. Listen, if you guys want this dude to get fights, tell him to hide his social media, fucking Photoshop his photos, go in and Tapology and list his height from 6'6" to 5'7", and hide this dude, man. Don't give any information, otherwise, people are gonna look at this cat. They're gonna look at his record. They're gonna look at his history and go, "Oh, he got a 9-second knockout. He got a 38-second knockout at super heavyweight, at heavyweight now. Get him out. No one's gonna want to fucking fight this dude." So
And RJ, it's so funny too because I called him the gentle giant, and I don't know him well enough personally to know if that's how he is in real life. But he's such a soft-spoken, sweet guy, and I know I don't like when my girlfriend calls me cute. I'm like, I'm not cute, you know what I mean? But he's just a sweet guy, he's a real nice guy. So, let's stick with that. Maybe when they're doing the sprawling, and I know I saw you guys in the newspaper. Maybe we do leave him out of the the newspaper pictures too, Norm. Maybe I
Yeah,
don't
maybe don't
write any
maybe
newspaper articles
maybe
about
don't have
him.
him standing next to fucking David Leisure in the newspaper or some shit, you know.
No more newspaper.
All right, now let's move on. Getting into our co-main event, actually, we've got Luke Chokin improving his record 8-5 out of Apex Fight Systems, defeating Nick the Gremlin Loot out of Route 250, falling to 5-6 by TKO in 25 seconds of round number one to win the previously vacant in-house. And I want to make sure that everyone hears that it's the in-house Caged Thunder Flyweight Championship. It is not an official yet championship, but I don't think any of that really truly matters. Luke Chokin announced after the fight that he was trying to go pro and he was going to be vacating the belt anyway. So who gives a shit? Um, but what are your thoughts on the fight? I mean,
Yeah, well, first off, shout out to Nick Lute, man, because I watched him train at Route 250, and mind you, Route 250 has some of the best fighters in the state of Ohio right now, and that day I was there, was the hardest worker in the room. Like, no doubt, I don't think anybody from his gym would even argue. Like, that day, he was the hardest worker. And I think, big props to Andrew for mentioning Nick Lute, saying, hey, win or lose, I know how hard this guy trained, and he's in the best shape and the best version of himself. And that's what fighting can really do for you at the amateur level. I don't know if Nick will take another fight. I didn't get to talk to him.
yeah, you said in the broadcast that you think that this is possibly Nick Lute's last fight. Did you get some inside knowledge that I may not have?
Yeah, well, number one, in the promo video, he talks about, I know I don't have many left. So anytime, they're saying they don't know if they have many left, that usually goes back to how their fight goes. If they win, yeah, maybe I do have a couple left. If you lose, now it's like, well, maybe I really don't have a couple left. But the biggest thing is, I mean, he's 35 and he's got two children, and he trained so hard, and it's almost like I'd like to see him back because I'm not sure how much damage he really took. But what I want to talk about is Luke Chokin, because Luke Chokin really is that dude. Like, his striking was incredible, and I personally thought, and I don't know, that he had knocked him out, maybe for just even a glimpse of a second had knocked him out, and Nick was back up. And my reasoning for that is, and I talked to Luke a little bit about this in the locker room, is when a fighter gets up and it's like a confused versus a fighter getting up and they're like, no, 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 no. I was still in it. I was still in it. Nick kind of got up a little confused. And that's what tells me maybe it could have been more of a knockout. But Luke Chokin is very, very good. His striking looked incredible. What I wrote down in my paper is he was fast and he was clean. And something else I'd like to add is precise, I think, is another word to explain how he did there. So big shout out to Luke. Big shout out to Nick, especially. Man, Nick, I definitely appreciated all the time that you gave me for video stuff, and you were always nice in your interviews. So that's very important to me. And but yeah, Luke just looked like the way better fighter, which surprised me. 'Cause I see Branson said it could have went either way. That was my head going into the fight. 'Cause I thought the records are close. Their weights are obviously close. Even time off. Luke had 2 years off. But once the fight started, I think it was quick to notice that Luke was probably going to take this fight.
Yeah, Luke is, again, he's another fighter that you look at his record and you go, similar to Jared Patterson. Again, I've been following Luke's career for years as well. We covered him on Rubber City Throwdown in the past before, man. We've covered him in fights. We've talked about him a lot, and he's a very well-rounded fighter. He's a great striker. He's fast, and yeah, he was always, I mean, he was always a dominant flyweight, man, in that division. He's always a good fighter, and but like moving to Nick, man, like he's what 35 years old and he's got 2 kids, man. Dude, I'm 36 with 3 kids and I'm still trying to get in it. I'm still trying to stay relevant and trying to stay in it. Yeah, your career as a mixed martial artist may not go to the UFC or beyond, but bro, don't stop grinding, man. It's
I
something
agree.
that you enjoy doing as long as your body is healthy and you're not like in a constant state of pain. Stick with it, dude. Like this is if you're passionate about it, stick with it. There is money to be made in this sport. Um, it may not be a lot of money, but as long as you stay consistent. I mean, dude, you just got back. That's what I feel like.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
he just kind of got back into the sport. Give it some time, give it some months. Let's get you another fight, possibly not a title contention fight and a flyweight division, and let's fucking go, bro. Like I want to see him back. I want to see Nick back in the cage. You know,
Yeah, I
I don't
would.
want him using that excuse. I'm 35 and too old, man. His coach is literally fighting Julian Lane next month, and
That's true.
he's 30, what 36.
Yeah, and
So
maybe, MMA's not for Nick. I know that he really had showcased his ground game in his fight against Dylan Bush. Maybe he wants to do some jiu-jitsu tournaments or something like that. That's always cool too. But no, I genuinely think like when I'd seen him probably a month ago, when I'd seen him around 250, I thought he was in great shape. Like I said, he was the hardest worker in the gym that day I went. Well, when he came in for fight day, that was the best shape I had ever seen him in. He looked in great shape a month out from the fight. That's important. Like staying in shape, keeping your health and stuff like that. So yeah, either way, whether he decides to fight again or not, that's up to him. But definitely try to stay in the gym like you have because you look good, dude. You look
oh
good.
yeah, 100%. And so let's move on to our main event, the Luke McMurtry versus Branson, the one prize for the featherweight championship. This fight, you want to talk about a fight that could have went either way.
No
This was
doubt.
it.
No
This was
doubt.
it. So you had Branson Price 5-0, the current bantamweight cage stunner bantamweight champion, jumping up a whole weight class to compete for the vacant 145 featherweight uh, championship against a 4-0 now 5-0 Luke McMurtry. Um, I'll leave it. I'll give it to you first. How do you feel about this fight? How do you feel about the decision? And what did you see during the show?
First off, I just want to say nobody should be getting mad at me because I've talked to both of the guys, and I also talked to head coach at Apex as well. I didn't get to talk to Terry, but I don't think that really necessarily matters because Luke won. But I was able to talk to both guys, so hopefully nobody's upset with the scoring here. But I do agree. I think it was Luke, and it came down to round three. Even Branson, when I had talked to him that night, had told me I don't know if I had round two, and I definitely think that was Luke's round, just because that the flurry of shots that he was able to land and the few combos just throughout that round. I had Branson winning round one personally, so it all came down to round three, and it really didn't only come down to round three; it came down to like the last minute of round three, and genuinely, it's really hard to score it. And when in MMA, the first thing you score is damage. So it was hard to tell damage. So then you look at control, and I just think in that last minute that Luke was able to show he had a little more control, and maybe I know Branson said like, dude, I was hitting him hard, but unfortunately the judges. They might not be able to tell. I certainly wasn't able to tell how hard you might have been hitting him. So for a judge, you look at control there, and it did look like Luke may have had more control, but the fight was so close. It was a super technical fight. There was a lot of clinch work, so I think like going back to be the clear winner would have been trying to be the winner in the clinch, and which was what made it hard because both guys were doing well in the clinch. Luke on his escapes was able to land combos. Branson able to hold on well in some of those. So it was a really good fight. Big shout out to Luke, man. I think he's going to just do so great. I love Luke. I think he's awesome. I love Branson as well. Um, for Branson though at 145, he was powerful.
Mm.
Luke was definitely busted up in the face. He's gonna have to have some time to recover for sure. So I've never seen Branson that strong at 45 as he was. And it was a really close fight. I think it all just came down to like the last minute of round 3.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I haven't. I've talked to Brian at Apex, the head coach of Apex. I've talked to Luke. I've talked to many members of Apex as well. They all know my opinion. I talked to Branson last night. I talked to him after the show as well. I had it. I had it, Luke, 3-2. Um, I went back and I rewatched the video. I slowed things down. I think you're right, Alex. It was the third round, and literally what I think came down to it was that Luke was pushing. He was the aggressor.
Yep.
He had, he was moving forward. Branson was moving back. Um, and I clearly think that Branson won the first round.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you
I agree.
saw it. You can see it in round two. Whatever adjustment they made in the corner of Luke McMurtry, um, he came out a lot more aggressive, and he caught Branson with a couple good shots that had Branson in the second round backing up, covering up for the first time in the fight. Branson was covering up, trying not to take damage. Um, and I think that led into the third round. Not as heavily as it was in the second, but Luke continued the pressure. He kept moving forward. Branson was slightly moving back. Branson wasn't like he was engaging in the clinch, but he wasn't using it. He wasn't throwing as much punches as many punches, and he wasn't landing as many as Luke was in the third as well. But again, this is another one of those fights that if it would have went the other way and Branson would have won 29-28 in that split decision victory, it wouldn't have been as controversial because it could have literally gone either way.
Hmm.
Now, there are going to be people who are like, no, absolutely not. Luke got robbed, just like people are saying that Branson got robbed. But at the end of the day, Branson's going pro. He
Yeah,
jumped up.
right.
He didn't lose his belt at bantamweight. And I'll tell you what I told Branson last night on the phone. I said, hey, dude, don't be so hard on yourself. You didn't go out there and get your ass beat. You didn't get knocked out in 10 fucking seconds. You went all 3 rounds with a undefeated game opponent in a weight class that is not your own for a championship. And you were one you at one point you were winning. You were winning the fight. You faced adversity. You stared it in the face. You adapted. You overcame, and you fought your ass off. There is no reason to be down on yourself. There was no fucking drawing board that dude, you just, I mean, yeah. And like I told him last night, I would like to see him let his hands go a little bit more. And I think that's something that he is going to work on. He probably has been working on a lot more as well. But again, Branson is like quicksand. You give him a leg, he's gonna suck you down a little bit more. He'll pull you down a little bit more. You give him 2 legs, you might as well just give him the fight, dude. And Luke did a really good job at not necessarily out wrestling Branson, but preventing Branson from taking him to deep waters.
Hmm.
So I do give Luke and Victor MMA props for the game plan. You didn't really see Luke fighting for ground control. You didn't really see him trying to wrestle and take shots. You
Hmm.
didn't see Luke trying to do those things because they recognized that Branson is strong. They recognized that he's a good wrestler and that all of his wins were just a very heavy, strong wrestling game. So but yeah, I look forward to seeing Branson. He asked me last night how he looked at featherweight, and I said, "Bro, you looked like you did at bantamweight,
Yeah,
a
no doubt.
100%. Like you looked like you did at bantamweight. He's a strong featherweight. He's an even stronger bantamweight. I want to see him make his pro debut. I am looking forward to that 150%. But yeah, I do want to congratulate Luke McMurtry again for improving his record to 5 wins, 0 losses, and now the new Cage Thunder featherweight champion.
Yeah, and even if I could say one more thing to Luke, I know that I had said going up to this fight that I haven't seen Luke have to go into a round losing. And, like, Luke lost that first round. So I'm not sure where he thought he was or where his team thought he was, but to me, he lost that first round. But what I can say is he was able to face the adversity very well. He lost the first round and he came back so much better in that second round. So now, if I'm looking at Luke, it's hard for me to say what he needs to work on because for the biggest thing for me is I just had not seen him really had to get tested hard yet. I've seen him get hit hard in the face now. I've seen him have to deal with grapplers, and now I've seen him have to deal with going in to a round losing, and I've seen him go to decision now. So it's like, Luke, man, the world is yours. The roof is really the limit for you in your career right now. And when you get to that point, it just means you got to work harder. You can't get content with where you're at, and I know he will work harder.
You
As
mean
well,
complacent?
complacent, yeah, no doubt. And the other thing is with Luke is he also cuts a bit of weight to get to his weight class as well. So yeah, big shout out to him.
I'm pretty sure he walks around
Like
at
160.
yeah, I was gonna say 65, 60. So
And then for Branson, dude, you're so good, and you're really good at bantamweight as well. What I want to see out of Branson is like a little more confidence. Sometimes I think that he it's like like especially his striking. He hit hard, and his kicks were coming in really good on a lot of those kicks. So I want to see Branson just unload a little bit more on the feet and then get that wrestling. And especially with those legs, man, if you can weaken down some of these guys at 35's legs and take them down and beat them on the ground, dude, you're going to be unstoppable. And he looked really good as well. It's a fight that could have went either way. So, but congrats to Luke for coming up the new champ.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that just about wraps it up for the Cage Thunder 22 results. Just a quick couple announcements before we actually end it here for the night. We've got a quick turnaround September 9th at Chaparral's Event Center in Akron, Ohio. We have got a huge card, arguably one of our probably our biggest card as far as names go. It is a Pro-Am Cage Under 23 headlined by Andrew Law from Route 250 and Julian Lane. Let me bang, bro. Julian Lane, Ultimate Fighter House, UFC veteran, bare knuckle boxing veteran. Coming back to his home state and competing. I am really looking forward to that. We've got guys like KO Butler from Apex Fight Systems getting back in there. Route 250's Brogan Endres facing Miles
Oh
Robinson.
my lord.
Lucas Mass, which we just recently did a day in the life of. That video is going to be coming out hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Walter, is it Walter Savant?
Walter Saint Savant,
Say
yeah.
Savant. There you go. I knew I was missing something in the middle there, but um, God, Walter has been a guy that I've been following his career as well, and I can't wait to. I didn't even know he went pro.
Yeah, I'm like going through like I'm like almost like a drought of wanting to watch him fight. So I'm really excited to watch him fight again.
Yeah. But yeah, this show is gonna be an absolute banger of a show. Viewership is gonna be high.
Well,
Tickets are
and
selling
Devin
fast.
Watkins. There's also some big amateur fights.
Oh no, yeah,
there's
these
Devin Watkins as
these
well.
are just the pros. Like
Yeah.
I'd have to actually pull up the card. We have
Yeah.
got like the amateurs alone make up I mean the guys that are competing on the amateur level as well. I mean, I don't want to run down. I don't want to do a full card rundown yet because
Sure.
I don't want to be here for another 2 hours. We're gonna get into that the week of the show. These are just a few names that we're throwing out there as far as on the professional scene goes, and I cannot wait. We have our December show coming up at the Canton Civic Center, and possibly a November card. So I know Scott
Sure,
Corbin,
that's in the
matchmaker,
work.
matchmaker for Cage Thunder, also came up with the suggestion of possibly doing a early to mid-November card, maybe focusing on some of the up-and-coming fighters, newer amateurs. I'm looking forward to it, man. We'll have to kind of brainstorm some ideas with that, and I look forward to the future with Cage Thunder. Again, guys, I want to thank you for tuning into our first live Facebook live feed. It was a blast seeing all the comments, interacting with the guys and the people who were, commenting and interacting with us and commenting with suggestions and letting us know how our audio is doing and just little banter back and forth. It's fun, man. I think that we're going to go ahead and do a majority of our podcast live so we can get this interaction with you guys. Um, this podcast is also recording, so it will be up on YouTube tonight as well. Just in case you missed it, you can go back to our Facebook page on Cage Thunder and you can see it there. You can go to our YouTube channel, search Cage Thunder in the search bar, and you can watch it there in a podcast playlist. Check out our website, cagethundermma.com, if you want to order your tickets for the September 9th card. And make sure you go to our Instagram and like our Instagram as well. We're really trying to get more of a following on Instagram as well with the new Instagram page, since our old one was hacked. So I appreciate everybody for showing up. And until next time, guys, see you later.